Nazira Cachalia is the program manager for the City for Safety, the safety program. Welcome to you, Nazira.
Thank you. Yes.
Focus is on safer cities. Is progress being made?
I think we're making some very important progress. You know, the city has been implementing a safety strategy for a number of years now, from 2003. I think we've managed to integrate notions of safety and safer cities approaches into city thinking, policy, programs, city departments. And so I think in terms of safety approaches, we're very much in line with what the conference here is focusing on: livable cities, a safer cities approach. The session that we've just had now, the Global Network for Safer Cities, I think many of the examples and approaches that other cities internationally, globally are using, I think Joburg fares well.
What are your biggest headaches in Johannesburg specifically? What comes to mind?
You know, I think that we are a growing city, a constantly sort of expanding city. So I think traffic issues are people's major concern, the bane of their lives. I think as urbanization takes, you know, a greater form, there are issues of bylaw enforcement. I think that impacts sometimes on people's day-to-day safety. I think the inner city is a good example where there's just so much activity, but we need a lot more regulated activities and spaces for people to navigate the public spaces in a safer way.
The issue of visibility often comes to mind. They say the more visibility you have, the bigger deterrent it is.
Absolutely.
Do you believe it's critical for cities like Johannesburg to have visibility out there?
I think visibility is a very important factor when it comes to people's perceptions of safety and also their sense of safety. I must say that in Johannesburg we've been very lucky. We have a metro police which are very visible. I think you'll agree with me that they're visible on highways, they're visible on major arterials. And I think that we're trying to improve the visibility within communities as well now. Our executive mayor has announced a ward-based policing approach, which means that we will be deploying, and we've already started this now a couple of months ago, 10 police officers per ward. And so that visibility and working with communities in terms of safety agendas is going to be, I think, a change-making process for the city of Johannesburg going forward.
When we speak about the JMPD, the one question which members of the public often ask is the problem of bribery and corruption.
Sure.
How are you dealing with bribery and corruption?
No, I think that bribery and corruption is a problem, is an issue. I think it's not just with JMPD, but we most certainly have internal processes that are dealing with complaints, with internal processes that are actually taking on corrupt officers. And we've made very good progress. I must say that there are cases that obviously need to be processed much quicker, but the city is dealing with corruption.
Nazira, the issue of implementing bylaws, I would imagine, is something that you focus on a lot, whether it is the window washers at the intersections, somebody doing illegal dumping, somebody building, putting up a building without the necessary or required planning. What are you doing to tackle these issues? Because very often if we don't tackle these issues, we're setting a bad example for cities that are going to deteriorate in terms of standards.
I think what the city is also introduced in addition to ward-based policing is a program called Joburg 10 Plus. And what Joburg 10 Plus is really aiming to do is to deal with bylaw enforcement and service delivery issue at ward-based level. So I think that this is going to begin to make an important impact and difference where it's not just the officers going in and enforcing, but it's working with community structures to understand what are the challenges that those communities face around enforcement of bylaws. Very often it's a two-way street. I think our communities also pretend that they are unaware of the city's rules and regulations. And I think some, very upright citizens often flout the rules and the laws themselves. So I think, it's very important to adhere to bylaws because they also enhance safety in cities. So if you are building and you leave your bricks and your rubble outside your home, it's a safety issue. It's dangerous for pedestrians, for children, for cars. And I think that we, as the city, are beginning to have a lot more of a focus and a systematic focus on how we actually do bylaw enforcement. And bylaws also need to be robust, so they need to change over time. The city's changing, and I think our rules and regulations must change accordingly, and that's what we're trying to also work towards.
There's about 150 countries represented here. Are there any lessons for us as South Africa to learn from your counterparts, from other parts of the world, from other mayors?
I think that in the Safer Cities sessions that we've just had now, the Global Network for Safer Cities, cities like Mexico, Bogota, Brazil, I think are doing very interesting work around safety. I think the mayor from one of the United States countries was also here. It's important to learn lessons from what is happening globally, but very important as well is when we take those best practices, we have to localize those globalized lessons, because not all of them work for us necessarily. But I think institutional understandings, how do you actually strengthen institutional mechanisms to implement strategies like safety strategies. And I think safety strategies are often cross-cutting. They don't sit in one department. They've got to be sort of vertically and horizontally aligned in terms of planning, social development, economic development. So safety is not one-dimensional. And I think the lessons learned from other countries in terms of how leadership, political leadership, managerial leadership deal with institutionalizing safety issues is been very, I think, useful as well.
The use of technology is critical to safer cities. I mean, in Johannesburg, you've got CCTV footage,
Yes.
And that's become almost the norm in most of the major cities around the world, Big Brother watching.
Absolutely.
How do you see the use of technology in creating what our dream of safer cities?
I think that our executive mayor is very passionate at the moment about a notion that he's referring to as smart cities. And there's been a lot of thinking and working being done behind the scenes around looking at what technologies can enhance this notion of smart cities. And sometimes it's, we don't need big technologies. We need maybe simple technologies that enhance things like better data management of safety and crime promotion activities. We're looking in the city, for example, at a public safety measure over time, and one of the considerations is to put in a observatory that can analyze, collect data. And so I think that there's a lot of thinking going on. CCTV is still a very important tool, but I think we need to broaden the use of CCTV. And I think technology and know-how must help us to make CCTV a more robust tool, not just detecting the criminals, but using it for urban development, urban, implementation of bylaws, for example. So we're trying to get the city departments to use the CCTV control room in a more sort of robust way.
Nazira, when do you think we'll be able to safely say that Johannesburg is one of the safest cities in the world?
I joined the city 10 years ago, and I must say we've made some amazing progress in terms of safety. If I look at the crime statistics when we were developing our safety strategy then, and the kind of programs we needed to look at in terms of reduction of crime, and you look at the statistics now, Johannesburg has really done well in terms of crime reduction. We're not there yet, and I think that with the new sort of city leadership, there's a dedicated focus on safety. We're going to have a very dedicated Safer Cities program, and I think with this Joburg 10 Plus ward-based policing and departments really gearing themselves to thinking about their role in contribution to a safer city is going to see us a long way in creating a safer environment for
Well, you have
citizens.
a lot of hard work ahead of you, and we wish you well. Thank you very much for joining us. That's Nazira Cachalia, responsible for the City Safety Program. Thank you, Nazira.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Just a few seconds.
Okay, that's very great. Thanks.